Hey everyone, how's it going? I just cleaned out my freezer and realized that I have some rabbit meat left over from last year, and I'm going to grind that up so we have ground rabbit. I mixed some pork with it just for the fat because rabbit has no fat, and then we'll use it for sausage, add it to chili. It's a great ground beef substitute because it's very high in protein, and when you add the pork you have the fat that you need. So I thought, well, I've also got some extra pork, and I thought, let's dirty up the machine once and get a couple of things done. I'm here in the outdoor kitchen, so you do hear the guys doing the firewood in the back. Let me just set you up here. Remember, I don't edit my videos, so you will get to see the whole process, errors and all. This is real life. I don't like to edit because I definitely want you to see when things go wrong. So I'm gonna just put my blades together. I had a screw up, the machine clogged up, so it took me a little while to get it unclogged, and that was my fault because I being a little lazy and didn't cut up the pork thin enough and the skin got caught. But let me just set her up back together. This is a limb, and I forget the size, but it's, I think, the second or third largest. It's pretty heavy duty. I did have one of the ones you get at the big box stores that's for home use. Honestly, I'd rather spend a little bit extra and get a quality machine because it makes a huge difference when you're doing what you need to do. And in pork season, if I don't have my own pork, I do buy shoulders and legs and grind it up, make my own sausage, make chouriço, which is a traditional Portuguese hot sausage. What I'm doing here is just pork fat, and let me put this on so I don't make a mess. What I'm doing here is I am grinding just pork fat, and the reason for doing this is we will make our own lard. I find animal fats are much healthier than vegetable oils or plant-based oils. So I try to have our own lard for a lot of things. Cooking, some baking. Reaching over because I have things everywhere. Again, this is real life. You're gonna get what you get. So I had these in the freezer and then in the fridge so that it's nice and cold. It grinds up a lot better when they're cold. So these are all the bags I kept in the freezer. And let me show you the grind. When you grind, there you go. When you grind up the fat this way, it renders down a lot quicker. And the way I render down is using the slow cooker because I set it and forget it because I don't have time to be watching a pot and stirring and ensuring it doesn't burn. When it no longer bubbles up, it means there is no water content. When there's no water content, it is shelf stable. It's a fat that you can put in the pantry, good for the year, and that's what we want. I don't need to, how shall I say it? I don't need to take up any more freezer space because I'm pretty limited. Even though we have 3 chest freezers and a couple of fridge freezers, we try to have pretty much everything we can off our land or at least purchase from a local farmer. I do love to support local farmers. I'm in central northern Ontario, and you want to support a ranch that grows their own beef, their own lamb, great for animal feed. Dutch Harmony Ranch, on the way to Magnetawan off of Highway 11, 520 I believe it is. They're fabulous. Support them. I support anybody I can that's local because we're all here to help each other. So look at that. Beautiful. I'm gonna let that feed through. That was literally all I was going to do for the rendering of pork fat. Put this off. Maybe you can hear me a little bit better. Well, the guys are still doing wood, not so much. I always try to do several things with my equipment at the same time. Reason being, I want to clean up once. And when I clean up, I really make an effort to clean it properly. I clean it, I sanitize it, spray it with bleach, let it air dry, bleach water, to make sure that any bacteria is taken care of. Just because we're on a homestead doesn't mean we don't care about food safety. We just don't go by government regulations. We're feeding our own family, but I still want to make sure that things are safe. So here is a slow cooker full of pork fat, and even though I don't edit my videos, this will be a clip because I'd like to show you this later. So I'll end up clipping a couple of things together, or just include it in another video later. I don't bother editing, I don't have time for it. So I'm gonna put this away and I'm gonna show you my rabbit meat. This is quite a load. I have a tub of meat that I have chopped up, and then after chopping it up, what I did is I seasoned it because I want flavors. I don't want just ground meat. I season it with salt, pepper, paprika, garlic. What else did I put in there? Bay leaf. The bay leaves I will have to pull out. And a large bottle of wine. We make our own wine, so it was 1.5 liters of wine. I'm gonna move this over because I'm kind of debating where to set this up so it falls right into the tub and I'm not moving things twice. I get these meat tubs from Princess Auto, and they're not sponsoring this. What are they called? Oh, well, this one has the label gone. Let's see if this one's got it. It's called Valley Sportsman 50-pound meat tub. Honestly, they're worth having. They go into the fridge, and I'm going to actually show you my fridge. Don't like to move things around, but so this tub here, as you can see, there's the information on it. Absolutely fabulous for having meat. I have one of these old fridges, the best thing ever. And what I can do is, you can see the shelf here, it fits the meat tub perfectly. So I can actually put 2 meat tubs in the fridge as it's, you know, cooling or marinating. And again, doing everything I can as simple as possible for the purpose of having our own meat. The rabbit meat, I just chop up. This here, this is the belly flap. People think it's, you know, tough. Well, yeah, so what? We grind it and we use it. There is absolutely no reason to throw meats away. Again, pork fat. So I will just go through and grind this up. I take the loin, the leg, belly flaps. Because the arms are so lean and hard to debone, I actually will make a rabbit stew just using a bunch of the arm, or front leg, whatever you want to call it. Not technical, I don't care. So here we go. I just want to show you how beautiful this grinds up and how we can use this meat. I will mix it nicely after it's ground, and I'll package it in 1-pound meat bags. so that when I'm pulling them out, I know exactly how much it is. Add it, like I said, add it to my chilies. Add it to make a little beef patty for breakfast. Amazing, like really good. I'm just gonna show you how it mixes. When you have the ground meat like this with the pork, it's very similar to ground beef. Now I'm doing the thick grind. Once I'm done and I mix it, I may actually do a finer grind, just for texture. I need to, not hiding anything from my family, but they're a little pickier than I am. So it's sometimes just to keep the peace, I grind it fine, take out the bones so they don't know what's going on. And here we go. Oh, it's grinding beautiful. It was in the fridge. It's really cold, almost to a freezing state, because I turned up the fridge quite high, which makes it so much easier to grind. Now, you're not seeing this in the back, but I should show you. As I'm going through, I'm plucking out my bay leaves. I know that I put in 10, so I need to find 10. Oh, awesome. Just grinding so beautiful. It is really hot here today. Funny, it was 4 degrees with a warning of frost, 4 degrees Celsius that is. Remember, we're in Ontario, Canada, so I will refer to our measurements. It was chance of frost, so it's 4 degrees, warning of frost overnight. Today, we have a heat warning, 4 days later, that we're going up to 40 degrees Celsius. So it is now, I think, about 10:30, 11 in the morning, and it's already hit 30. So yeah, we're gonna have that really high temperature, super humid. I love the heat, but I don't like to work with meat in the heat, so I'm trying to move this along as fast as possible. I am in the shade. I'm in my outdoor kitchen, which I'll take you on a tour another day. And I do as much as I can down here, just because cleanup is great. Take the hose, some bleach, everything's cleaned up, no worries. I am a quarter of the way through this tub, so I'm moving. Oh, look at that, bay leaf. So we're at 3. Remember, I'm gonna find 10. Oh yeah, the meat's just gorgeous. I don't know why you wouldn't save anything. Like, there's a limit, I know. Freezer burn is real, but before it gets freezer burn, as I'm replacing it with fresh, I take out and use it appropriately. I'm not going to waste any of that hard-earned meat. It takes a lot to raise the rabbits. We care for them with love. So if they're going to be used, we're not going to waste any of it. My neighbors feed their dogs a raw diet. So when I debone my rabbits, there's of course some meat left on there. I take it over to them and we do a little bit of bartering, in the sense that I give them the raw meat or the carcasses, and she is a dog groomer, so she does my dog's nails for me. Nice trade, supporting each other, being good neighbors. It's always important. Oh, it smells so friggin' good. Besides the seasonings, that friggin' wine just makes everything perfect. This is a standard marinade that we use in a lot of Portuguese cooking. You know, the salt, pepper, paprika, garlic, wine, bay leaf. It's a base for a lot of seasoning, and it definitely is the base for shorties. What I do with shorties is I do smoke it afterward in the smoker, cold smoke, It's a good cure. I still place them in the freezer afterward because I don't use any preservatives. I forget what it is, some kind of salt or some kind of sulfite that I'm not going to use. So I put them after smoking, I vacuum seal them and put them in the freezer and use them from there. Look at that huge belly flap that people think is tough, and here we are using it as part of our ground. I am definitely going to run this through on a smaller blade because the chunks are quite large. Great for going through the first time though, and the second time we'll go through so quick because it will already be ground. Like I said, it's worth investing in a higher quality machine. When I had the big box store machine, it was like, and I had to plunge constantly to add it through. It was frustrating. It would get clogged. It would get gummy. This just goes beautiful. Really. By the way, that bay leaf comes from our laurel tree that we move inside for the winter every year. We always have some dry up leaves and we just keep those, but I use fresh bay leaf as well as dry bay leaf in a lot of cooking. And again, it's so nice to get our own instead of one that's been sitting on the shelf in the store for God knows how long. That's the unfortunate part about a lot of spices. You don't know how long they've been there. So when we have herbs or spices that we can take care of ourselves, we do. Getting to the other end. Now I do know that I have the arms at the other end. So I'll grab those out so that I could make a stew later on. Definitely not going to grind anything with bone through here. Making sure that I don't have any bay leaves in here because I've got 5 out. But I know that there's more. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need 10. I know that I haven't ground them in, which is good. These are the rabbit arms. They're super tender. They're like chicken wings. That's, I don't know, that's the texture that I equivalate them to. Equivalate, is that the word? I don't know. They're the same as chicken wings. Anyway, that is going to be stewed with some onions, garlic, started off with some bacon and tomatoes, and that will make an amazing supper. I've also got the livers and kidneys because I find that when I do the stewed rabbit, that just gives it such a nice flavor. There we go. Separate. As you can see, this isn't taking me long, and I'm at, the tub's almost full, which would mean that that is, what did I say this tub was? 50 pounds of meat. Figure that out by a per pound cost of going to buy meat in the store and tell me if it's not worth the effort of doing things at home. Homesteading doesn't mean you have a property in the country like we do. Homesteading could mean that you're in the city and you take ownership for the food that you eat and the practices that you basically go by. I raised my son. He's now almost 29. I raised him in the city, just outside Toronto. We started in Toronto and then we were outside Toronto. And I always made our meals from scratch. Yeah, you know what? We had takeout here and there. Come on. Everybody does. And if you say you don't, you're probably a liar. But generally, everything was made at home from scratch. I worked full time and also had a business. So my time was very precious, yet I always spent my weekends meal prepping for the entire week. My son would spend Saturday morning with me baking, doing something, making lasagnas, making shepherd's pies, anything like that. But it was quality time together while I prepped for during the week. Did he learn from it? Well, he learned that I cared enough to ensure that our food was always monitored to make sure that we were getting what we should get. Okay, so everything's gone through. It's just letting the liquids come through because that's great seasoning. As you can see, I've got the arms to do a stew later. I should actually find something to put that in because I'm going to run this meat through again. I don't know if I could get this off. Oh, look at that. It went through easily. One thing I do recommend, and I do regularly, is anytime, even though the machine is off, anytime I'm working with it, I unplug it. Because accidents are just that. They're accidents. You don't mean them to happen, but come on, use your head. You have a pretty powerful piece of equipment and you're going to stick your hand in a blade. Think about it. Like, my God. Okay, I am going off camera while I'm working on this. Just going to wash my hands. Remember, I'm not editing, so if I need to do something, you're not going to see me because I'm not carrying the camera around. This is not for YouTube fame. I'm just trying to share what I do so that others can learn from it. Yep, that's the hose. That's how we do things here. Move that one out of the way. Okay, so this meat tub, 50 pounds. 50 pounds of meat, guys. You figure that out, let's say at, I'd say probably $9.99 for rabbit. Maybe even more, it is organic. And 50 pounds times $9.99, you figure it out. Is it worth the bit of time I'm spending here? Abso-fucking-lutely. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing something totally not safe, but the machine is off. And yes, it's a sharp knife, but I'm also an idiot when it comes to things like that. I'll do whatever to move along. So, what I'm doing here is switching out this blade for the smaller one. Since I'm here, I might as well show you this. This is the one I was using. So there's the dies, you can see that. There is this larger one. I use this when I'm chunking for shorties, because with shorties, I want chunks of meat, not ground, and I don't want to cut them by hand. So that is awesome. Ever since I started using that, I thought, oh, where were you all my life? So we've got that blade. This is what I'm going to, much finer. I could just run it through this again and it will make it a bit finer, but I think to just keep the peace of the guys eating everything, the finer, the better. It's not that I'm not telling them that they're eating rabbit, but texturally, this is all that, you know, thick fat that didn't grind. It was around the blade, so might as well remove it now. There you go. You get to see the assembly. It's not difficult. I swear I love this machine. They could probably hire me to promote it because honestly, love it. Not that I'm asking them to, I'm just saying. Okay, so here we go. Blade on, then the grinding disc. It's on there. This is the housing or the clamp that holds everything in place. And this is where I always take my time because I do not want to cross thread it. And if it's moving that smoothly, you know it's good. And it also doesn't need to be over tightened. That's the beauty of it. You do it right, it's not brute force. So I just want to show you the difference this will make. Oh, how about we plug it back in? Taking my ground meat, thick grind. I'm gonna just use the plunger to get it in there because now it's not like I'm dropping big pieces. I want to get them in there. Look at that. Just like you see in the grocery store. I am gonna take this really close because I want you to see what I'm talking about. Does that look the same as what you pick up in the store, but much leaner, completely healthy? Think about it. Do it yourself. The other thing about these machines that I like is I'm not using my hand to plunge in there, but even if I try to reach the blade, I can't. Don't use your hand to plunge, like don't be an idiot. There's this beautiful little thing that you just push down, but the machine itself has some safety features. Just gonna move this around. Perfect. You're gonna see how quickly I'm gonna get through 50 pounds of meat. Because it is a smaller grind, it does take longer to go through. Smaller holes, pushing through a smaller space, gonna take longer. But not an issue. Just gonna keep adding here. And I don't really even have to monitor it that much because it's self-feeding, of course. Just every once in a while, I just make sure that it is moving, and it is. I've got the slow cooker on high right now. It's going to be several hours before we have some lard. And what I may do is just refer back to this video, but do another one on the lard and the finishing process. It's that time of year where I'm doing tons of videos because there's lots happening. It's fall, it's harvest season. As like I said, you can hear the guys in the background working on firewood. We have 3 wood furnaces in the house, so we use quite a bit of firewood. Easily on the property, we can go and find any fallen dead trees And it's like a cleanup of the property, and it also allows for the young trees to grow up through it. We don't need to harvest any live trees. Not necessary. We got plenty of fallen trees to work with. This is going to take me just a little while, and I'm sure you don't want to sit back and watch me plunge meat. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to show you one more time how beautiful rabbit mixed with some pork fat and pork. I was, like I said, cleaning out the freezer, so I'm using the meats that I have. Look how beautiful that is. Try it. Rabbit is such a good quality meat. We raise them, and I don't overbreed them. I give them a break. Like right now it's hot. I would never be breeding a rabbit in the heat. Heat is actually harder on a rabbit than cold temperatures. I just breed them at the times that we would need meat, so that they have a good life. They're not just a breeding machine. I don't believe in that. It's unfair to the animal, and it costs a lot of feed. So if you're not going to use all the meat, why would you be raising it? The cost of feed is ridiculous these days. I do give them a lot of scraps out of the garden and just vegetation, but we still want them to have a nourishing diet. So I do feed them pellets that have already been balanced with all the nutrition that they need, because I want to make sure that everything that we eat is quality. We use all our feed. For chickens, ducks, we buy non-GMO, and we make sure that they have plenty of water all the time. I am more concerned about getting them water than feed, because I think if they're not in the wild fending for themselves, we have to take care of them. Anyway, that is my grinding video. Thanks for joining me. Like, subscribe, and remember, live your best life.